Now we have the panelists in the studio, Professor David Aworawo, Mr. Jide Ologun, and Yemi Adamolekun, Executive Director in Office Enough. Well, let me start with you, Mr. Jide Ologun. On the various issues that we have looked at, the change of service dues, the National Assembly, the Senate saying the burden of proof must be on INEC. Dr. Adepoju talking about the hike, the attempt by government to fix rent, and also Ambassador Joe Keshi looking at about 4 or 5 different international topics, including Madagascar, Nicolas Sarkozy going to jail, the situation in Cameroon, and all of that. So altogether, we have taken already about almost 9 topics. So I don't know which ones you want to reflect upon.
Thank you very much. Let's start from the reshuffling of the service chiefs. And when the rumor came that there was a planned coup, it came like a joke, but from the action of the government, it has become more concrete. And if there is something we don't need right now in Nigeria, it's a coup d'etat, like it's been experienced in Madagascar. And I just want to advise that while ensuring that the security architecture is worked upon, can the president also extend that to other issues that are plaguing the nation? You know, like the oil theft, the illegal miners in the country, so that what we have in Section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that the security and the welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of government, can be implemented, so that people won't just have the feeling that, oh, if it concerns the government or the president's action will be taken. And like I said, we don't need coup in Nigeria right now. And that brings me to something closely attached, which is the issue of housing. I quite agree that it should be difficult to implement any law that is trying to streamline rent in the country now. And for the legacy projects, the renewed hope properties, yes, the government may have control over that. And I also want to cancel, if you look at Section 16, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, it talks about providing suitable and affordable housing for all citizens. Can we look at how we can emphasize this? I recall in Lagos State, when Alhaji Jakonde was the governor, he really embarked on building houses for the low-cost citizens in the country. So that is one aspect. And of course, even if laws are made to regulate rent, we can also not throw away the cost of building materials and the impact of the economy at the global level. And talking about INEC, pushing the responsibility of proving electoral cases to the National Assembly, seeking to push the responsibility to INEC, I think it should be a slippery one for the National Assembly, because right now the question is, has INEC even earned the trust capital to be trusted as the umpire, the supervisor, the regulator? Because already in the Electoral Act 2022 amended, we have the issue of Section 65 that has given a strong discretion to INEC as the final declarer of results, and that they can now look into it within 7 days. Those ones are there. So why don't we focus on how to punish electoral offenses, to make the deployment of the gadgets mandatory, and let's have penalties for offenses that may come through our elections, rather than saying, because I still cannot put it together that INEC will now be, INEC itself that should be a witness in such cases. But we are looking forward to how it will emerge. And one of the things they are trying to do is to move the local government election to INEC from the states. And whether the states will agree with this or not, I'm not sure. But please, let's look at concrete areas that will restore trust to INEC as the umpire. Then we talk about the Cameroonian election. Paul Biya has been there since 1982. I think I left secondary school in 1982, and then it's over 90 years. And recently, even his daughter came out saying that people should not vote for him, but he remains there. And like our ambassador mentioned, the issue of coup flying around now also can be prompted by the displeasure the citizens are having about those in leadership. So I think Africa should begin to shift to learning the essence of leadership, which is to enhance the fortunes of the citizens. And I leave the other aspects to, at the international level, to Professor Aworawo.
Professor Aworawo.
Yeah, I would discuss service chiefs as well, but I'll focus more on security. I want to assume that it is because of the desire to improve Nigeria's security that the service chiefs have been changed, not coup. Because the government hasn't spoken about coup directly. So I want to focus on security because the service chiefs, they are the ones in charge of security. And the security situation is still very dire. If you go to the northeast, the Boko Haram has suddenly found a new lease of life, so to speak. In Bama, in all those places where they control sometime, they are back. And of course, the northwest is still, they are still having a field day and all that. So the point I want to make there is that the change of service chiefs will not dramatically change the security improve security if certain fundamentals are not changed. But recall when Buratai was chief of army staff, that group, there was this call that, service chief should be sacked, the security situation is bad and all that. They were removed. Another group came and nothing improved. So there is the need to address the fundamentals of why the security situation in the country has remained this bad, despite the changes in service chiefs. You have to understand the roots. One definition of peace building, by Joan Gatung, is the establishment of structures to build sustainable peace by addressing the root causes of conflict. You have to be able to map the ones in the northwest, what is happening there. Those ones are just criminals. The ones in the northeast, they're also criminals there, but they're also religious fundamentalists. The one in the southeast, there are people who are fighting for, who are separatist agitations. You have to be able to understand them and then know how to address them. And of course, there are also people who also target other religious groups, they are fundamentalists. There's this debate that is going on as to whether are Christians persecuted in Nigeria or not, and people are, Yes, there are criminals who are killing everybody, both Muslims and Christians. But they are also fundamentally also attacking Christians specifically, capturing priests and killing them. We just have to address that. And for you to address that, you have to admit that this exists. And then, apart from kinetic, the way other countries do to radicalize and all those things, you have to focus on them. Unless and until all of these things are done, if you change service chiefs 1 million times, it won't change anything. So my advice to government is the fundamentals of all of these things must be looked at and then addressed. Now, two other things. The resources that the military has. I was really embarrassed when Bello Tuji climbed that APC, Armored Personnel Carrier, and demonstrated with it, and then nothing happened. Elsewhere, by that time that thing got stuck there, they would have known that Bello Tuji will come. You just get a remote this thing, and then get rid of him. But nothing happened. The man demonstrated, embarrassed everybody, and went away. And they are still looking for him till tomorrow. It speaks to the inadequacies, let me just use that broad language, of the military in that regard. And of course, equipment as well. In addition to that, of course, the ability to, whether they are sufficiently motivated. All of those issues together must be addressed before our security situation can improve. So change security chiefs is just, for me, it's just cosmetic. These fundamentals must be addressed before our security situation improves across the country. I hope the government will pay attention. I also hope that the new men coming in will look at all of these issues. And of course, the second thing, which is funding, equipment. I was just reading as I was just coming in how the Boko Haram is now using, in fact, the governor of Borno State has just stated that Professor Zulum, that Boko Haram is now using drones extensively. So the equipment that Nigerian military is not able to use, Boko Haram is using. And so why has it occurred that all of these years, the funding for these terrorist groups has not been identified and cut off? The funders have not been identified and brought to justice. All of these things are things that countries are doing, and they are doing well. Their security is improving, which Nigeria, the Nigerian structure, has not managed to do. So all of these things, I think, those are my thoughts as far as improving the security situation is concerned, not just the cosmetic change of service chiefs. Then a shift quickly to INEC. I said last week that when Nigerians are ready for credible election, there will be credible election. INEC will try. One thing INEC can do is to insist that once those electronic devices, results are not transmitted, for instance, from the polling unit, those results will be rejected. Unless and until we're able to do that, we won't have credible election. Because people can just write results from anywhere and then the results are announced. So that if somebody tampers with, because people tamper with those devices for them not to work. So if somebody tampers with the result, with their devices, that election will stand nullified. There will be a new election to be conducted in those places. These are things that INEC can do, and like Barrister Ologun says, Section 65 of that Electoral Act 2022 gives INEC the discretion in all of that. And it will not be new. In Malawi in 2020, Peter Mutharika said he won the election. And the thing went to the court, and the court said, no, the papers we are seeing, there's too much Tipex. That's why they were calling Mutharika Tipex president. And they cancelled the election.
But they say Mutharika is
as one back,
now.
yes. If people say this person we want, there's no. But at that time they didn't want him. And the election was reconducted and he lost. And he went away quietly. That is the point we are making. The issue of also is too expensive. If election has not been conducted meeting the standard, it should be cancelled and reconducted. If INEC insists on that, it will bring credibility to INEC, and then we can begin to have credible election. But as it is now, they just changed. I was talking about it last week. The results that were brought in when I was president of the election. For funny results, I rejected almost all of them.
Oh, you are one of those professors who cause problems with our election results.
I'm one of those who make it credible.
No. The received opinion is that professors are part of the problem.
Yes, I said it last week. Look, if you see somebody protesting fake results, it's a professor.
Yes. Two professors are in jail.
Yeah, out of how many? Out of how many? Look, they should do the experiment. One time they should remove all professors and see how the election will look like. It is true you have a few bad eggs, but if you see somebody protesting election that is irregular, he's a professor.
But the major issue now is that the burden of proof should be on INEC.
I don't think that is right as well. INEC should be a witness as it has been. But INEC should, even before we get there, put in place all these things that will make it difficult for people to be able to, contest, to rig, bring fake results, and those results stand. That is the point we are making. Finally, foreign. Cameroon, I'm surprised that a 90-something-year-old man is still fighting. And from the way these things have gone, just like Ambassador Keshi said, it's almost certain that the man has lost the election. Yeah. He's already inviting the other people who will come. And he just wants to hang on. Why does he want to hang on at over 90? He should be at home reading newspaper and looking after his grandchildren, look at the grandchildren, and be happy for all the years he has served as president. It is very disheartening. We hope that all the noise from all over the world will reverberate positively so that the man can go home quietly to live the rest of his life. Then Sarkozy going to jail is a message for all leaders. He's going to have two bodyguards.
He's going to jail. But we have two bodyguards.
It doesn't matter. Going to jail alone for a former... we know what this means. And this is a message for everybody that power is fugacious. It's transient. Do well when you are there so that when you leave, if they knock at your door, say anything, you will just come and prove yourself and go home quietly.
Okay.
So
let's come to Yemi Adamolekun. Although there is a special topic I reserve for her, which is the 5th anniversary of NSAS. Yes. But let her comment on other issues and then she can add that to it. Because that topic was chosen specially for her.
Thank you. So I'll start on security, and I just want to lend voice to what you have said around Christians and Muslims. And it's unfortunate that instead of talking about the fact that Nigerians are being killed unnecessarily across the country, we're now debating if more Christians are being killed or more Muslims. But at the same time, the fact that there are multiple issues going on in the north, resources, land grab, mineral grab, if I want to use that word, The fact that there are Christians who are being killed for their faith cannot be swept under the carpet because Muslims are also being killed. And I think until Nigeria addresses that issue and deals with it from a security perspective, and every Nigerian feels safe, between those lobbying in the US and Nigeria responding very knee-jerk and saying that's not true, the only way to answer that is data. What does the data say? Where are the numbers? Where are people being killed? And what, more importantly, is the government doing to ensure that Nigerians are not being killed? The people who go to America to present their case, they go there with data. They go there with records of churches raised, numbers of Christians killed, funerals that have happened. So they're not going there speaking emotively. So governments cannot afford to respond emotively in that regard. That's number one. Number two, quickly on Financial Action Task Force. And I think it's important because the administration just wants to focus on the last 2 years. And just to put it in a bit of context, we were first listed in 2001. We were delisted in 2006. A review was done 2019, 2021 that then led to EFCC, ICPC. And there were 84 points that we were asked to review. And of the 84 points, we got it down to 69. 69 of them were addressed. And so based on that was when we were then grey listed in February 2023. And it is then those points that, 15 points, that between February 2023 and now were then reviewed that has resulted in us being removed from the list. So just so that we have some context, because I think the focus that it's as if everything, all the magic happened within this last 2 years, is just to know that we have, as a country, followed a process that has been responding, as you said earlier, EFCC, ICPC, and that has all been part of the process that has brought us here. Anti-Terrorism Act, Proceeds of Crime Recovery Act, and things of that nature. And then lastly, wanted to just speak to Kenya. I thought Ambassador Keshi's position on Raila Odinga was very interesting, and I slightly disagree. Because he presented him as the fact that the state funeral he's got was a recognition of the fact that he was genuine, he meant well, he was fighting the right cause. Raila Odinga was all about power. Democracy was his roots, and he mobilized people to see that we will fight at the polls for justice against those in government. Not necessarily because he wanted to change the systems, in my view, but just because he wanted power. And Ruto, also being a politician, needs his base to be happy with him. So the fanfare around his funeral and all that is not just about the role he played in Kenyan politics past, but what, in my view, Ruto also wants to use that role to do in Kenya's politics present. Now, you wanted me to talk about NSAS.
Okay, yeah. NSAS protests, which ended with people being tear gas 5 years after. And then you were the flower girl, you were carrying flower. What do they call it? They call it wreath or something.
Yes.
You know, some brown...
Flower girls are for weddings.
Some brown
Not for,
uniform people, they collected the flowers from you and all that. And
if they collected it, it would be nice. They destroyed it.
They harassed you and grabbed the flowers from you. Can you tell us about your experience and whether any lessons have been learned 5 years after the NSAS protests?
I don't think so. I think the government still sees its citizens as its enemy, as its opponents. There were only 2 of us at Lekki Toll Gate on Monday, October 20th. 2 women. I had flowers. The other lady was Nanre Navsinga, who's a professor at McGill in Canada, was recording me leave the wreaths at the toll gate. Before then, we had an interview at New Central. I'd asked that I take my interview at the toll gate. And there were 5 security agencies at the toll gate, a toll gate that nobody showed up at. The police were there, the army were there, civil defense was there, Lagos Security Network was there, as well as Man O' War. The Commissioner of Police of Lagos had come through with like a 15-car convoy in a show of force to who, for what, I really don't know. And the point when he was interviewed was he was talking about, I guess he said, the peace we enjoy, we don't want any other destruction. And the consistent framing of peaceful protesters as destroyers or as arsonists, it's the continued narrative the Nigerian government, and Lagos state government in particular, wants to continue to propagate. It was not peaceful protesters that set anything on fire in Lagos state. they were criminals. And in any situation, you would have them. And it is the job of the police to protect citizens. And I remember then, and I'll say that in context again now, when we were calling the police at that time to say that, look, people are taking advantage of this to set up roadblocks and being nuisances, the police told us that, but you're protesting against the police. What do you want us to do? And so it was that deliberate abdication of responsibility that then led to a breakdown of law and order that you then want to blame peaceful protesters on. Anyway, at the toll gate on Monday, wanted to place flowers, and Man O' War, on the orders of the police, decided that flowers were a threat. I mean, I still can't. I mean, to be honest, I didn't expect the flowers to last that long. I expected them to watch me leave it and just go there and either remove it or scatter it. But they attacked, and I was telling the guy, I said, flowers are a threat? Like, how is this flower upsetting your life at the moment?
No, upsetting the life of the Nigerian state.
The Nigerian state, exactly, as demonstrated by Man O' War. And then the police contingent that followed them then engaged in a conversation. And they said their problem was that we were recording a police formation. And I said, it's a public space. We're not recording you. She's recording me put flowers at the site. If you're not in my line of view, nobody's recording you. But that was what their framing was, that we're recording a police formation, is this and that. But anyway, 5 years later, a lot of questions still unanswered, a lot of healing yet undone, and the continued nature of a country that doesn't want to accept the experiences of its citizens, from Biafran War to NSAS, until these things are addressed, and they will be addressed. Nigerians will continue to remember because it's important. People that don't remember their history lose their identity.
Well, Mr. Ologun, a word on this harassment of Yemi Adamolekun and our colleague, briefly.
My advice is that
To who?
government agencies, particularly the law enforcement agents, should not be seen as appendages of the presidency or the executive or on the side of the government. Because if you look at the vision of the Nigerian police, for instance, is to establish and sustain a secure environment for economic development. You see, so because it's like she brilliantly mentioned, the perception is that it's the citizens against the government. But like Ambassador Keshi mentioned, you must have to listen to the silence and the voices of the citizens. Can we say in Nigeria today that services are rendered to the majority of the citizens, or that to protect the interest of a few who appear to be custodians of power? And until we come to that point where there is a sense of justice, equity in the society, then we may not be driving home the motto of Nigeria, which says unity, faith, peace, and progress.
Professor Aworawo, briefly.
Well, I would like to advise the police to see people who want to protest as friends. And not
The police is your friend.
Yes, but they don't see people who are, once you mention protests of any type, you see they are edgy. There is this feeling that they want to turn the place upside down and all that. I don't know what training the police will be giving or what orientation for them to change that mindset. And not just even people protest, generally. You know, how can we work together to solve a problem? Yeah. Rather than having a Manichaean, perspective that them versus and us. Yeah. The training that will make that happen is my advice to. And not just Nigeria, even in Kenya, you saw what police have been doing. Okay. The police need training to be able to see the other side as people who can work with to have a stable system.
Okay, Yemi Adamolekun, thank you very much. We're glad to see you in one piece, and that Nigeria did not happen to you. You survived. You will continue to survive. Yeah. Professor Aworawo, thank you very much, and Mr. Jide Ologun, thank you very much indeed.